we are reading Parashat VaYehi. Parashat VaYehi is the last parasha of the book of Genesis, Bereshit, and it is on chapter 47, starting on verse 28. VaYehi Yaakov, and Jacob lived be'eretz Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt, 17 shana, 17 years. ויהי ימי יעקב שני חייו 7 שנים ו40 ומעט שנה. And the days of Yaakov, the years of his life, were 7 years and 40 and 100 years. That's how it starts. This is the shortest parasha of the whole book of Genesis, only 85 verses. And it is very powerful because it includes the blessings that Jacob is giving to his sons. Those blessings have enormous importance. First of all, because those blessings are still carried forever, for thousands of years later. And a lot of people, a lot of Jews know those blessings, or some of them at least, by heart, because it says in this parasha, when Jacob is blessed, it says in this parasha that when Jacob is blessing his grandchildren, okay, and he says that's in chapter 48, verse 15. ויברך יוסף ויאמר, ויברך את יוסף, and Jacob is blessing Joseph, and he says, האלוהים אשר התהלכו אבותיי לפניו, the God that my ancestors, my fathers, who walked in front of him, Abraham and Isaac, האלוהים הרואה אותי מעודי עד היום הזה, the God that guards me till this day. And then he says, verse 16, המלאך הגואל אותי מכל רע, the angel that redeems me from all evil, יברך את הנערים, will bless the boys, ויקרא בהם שמי ושם אבותיי, and my name and the name of my fathers will be called upon them. Avraham and Yitzchak, וידגו לרוב בקרב הארץ. And it says that blessing will be used by their descendants ever after. And you know what? Till today, almost 4,000 years later, every Friday night and holidays, the fathers are blessing among the Jewish people around the world, no matter what community, are blessing their children, and that the meal, the kiddush of Friday night and holiday, with the same exact words in the same language exactly as being mentioned in the Torah. So we are talking about words of a blessing that is so eternal that almost every Jew knows that blessing by heart. And if you're a Jew and you don't know this blessing by heart, maybe it's time that you know it by heart, because you're cutting the lineage of 4,000 years of people blessing their children and their grandchildren with that blessing. The blessing of protection, the blessing of bliss. And later on come the rest of the blessings for the other 12 sons of Jacob. Okay? And now these blessings, in many synagogues, in many Jewish common places around the world for thousands of years, you could see those blessings on the walls, on the windows, as a symbol like of a blissful life here and there, that is still alive. So when you say VaYehi Yaakov and Jacob lived, we are talking about that Jacob is still alive till today. He never died. The Zohar says Jacob never died, because a person who has reached in such a prominence, such greatness, that his blessing, his words are alive 4,000 years later. Almost 4,000 years by his descendants still repeating the same words all over again, exactly the same words in the same language. This is not normal. How do you achieve such a greatness? And that's our question, because here is the story. Because we have in this parasha so much power. It is the parasha that it's the whole culmination and the summary of the whole book of Genesis, which means the whole power of the book of Genesis is being concentrated in this parasha. As we said, this is the shortest parasha in the whole book of Genesis, and we know it's saying that sometimes what is shortest is the sweetest. The number of the verses in this parasha is 85. Peh. Peh means a mouth. A mouth, Kabbalistically speaking, is a symbol of manifestation. You can have thousands of ideas, but as long as you did not say them, pronounce them, that they have no really existence, because the next moment you can forget them. But the moment you say them, you speak them out, it becomes a reality. It affects, it can stay, it creates ripple effects. It is a manifestation. So the mouth, when it says mouth, it is a manifestation. So this parasha is the mouth of the whole book of Genesis. How come? Because the book of Genesis is not just about some people who lived many, many years ago in a forgotten area like in the deserts of the Middle East and Egypt. We're talking about something so powerful that is still alive inside us, so although so many years have passed. And what is it? It's the feel, the desire, the urge to live. Now the question is, what does it mean living? What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean really to live? Because most people are not really alive. How do you say most people are not really alive? And the sages are saying, Reshaim bechayehem nikraim metim. Selfish people are dead while they're still alive, which means it looks like they are alive, but they're really dead. Because the question is, what makes a person alive? And that secret is hidden in the first verse of this parasha. The name of the parasha is VaYehi, and he lived. Okay, VaYehi, and he lived, really lived. Which the Zohar says, Jacob achieved the level of true life of a human being, the highest level a human being ever achieved. Only Moses achieved a level similar to his, even higher. And notice that most of them, says the Zohar, achieved that level in Egypt. How come? It's all the symbolism of the language of the Torah. Remember what the Zohar says. Whoever reads the Torah and thinks that the stories of the Torah are really what has to be delivered over there is a fool. Because if you look on the simple layer of the commentary of the meaning of the Torah, simple in Hebrew is pshat. And the Zohar says pshat, it's also the same letters as tipesh. Only a fool looks on the simple layer, right? How long does it take to know a person? Oh, a few seconds. And then you pay for it for the rest of your life, correct? Because you never know who's the person. You can live with a person all your life for many, many, many years, and you still don't really know the person. Why? Because humans, they have the tendency to look on the superficial level, and when you experience your life superficially, then you live superficially, you don't really live. But what does it mean? The light of the Creator is eternal. And it's all starting from the beginning of the book of Genesis. And God said, let there be light. And God saw that the light was good. And it's here in this verse. Why? Because the Zohar says, from there we know that every good that really comes to a human being is somehow an illumination of that original light. However, there are rules. When you study Kabbalah, you learn that there are rules for the flow of the divine, endless, eternal light. The light flows only, like in electricity, not the same thing exactly, but we know electricity has to flow through a certain way And there are very strict laws about it. And if you don't keep the laws, you can get really hurt, especially with high intensity, or you don't get the bliss out of it. But when you know the flow, you know the rules, and you play by the rules, you can really achieve great bliss out of harnessing the intense power of electricity. Now, electricity is, again, physicality, although I don't think that I ever met a person who saw electricity in the wires. Did anybody of you, any one of you, seen electricity? No, we still believe in it. We still believe in it. Okay? Now you have to understand that although you don't see it, but you still use it because you see the outcome. Oh, how can we allow the light of the Creator flow through our system and see the outcome? What's the outcome? That you really feel alive. That you really feel alive. That you really feel that the energy of goodness is flowing through your body, through your soul. And you really feel intensely alive. While a lot of people, they don't feel alive. It's like, how do you know they don't feel alive? Because they always complain. They're always angry. They're always upset about something. Nothing satiates them. They're also waiting for something to make them happy, and then they experience loss, disappointment, rejection, and the worst of it all, they go through endless pain, and they let that pain control them, control their thinking and their emotions. That means that those people are still dead. And here, the Torah is about giving us the power to live. As it says, Etz Chaim hi lamachazikim ba. It is a tree of life for the ones holding on to it. That wisdom. It's not a regular wisdom that makes you smart, that gets you excited about numbers and letters and combinations and enigmas and stuff like this. It's not an intellectual experience. It's a life experience. Your real quality of life, the way you experience everything, but really everything, is being affected by the study of the Torah. Let's see how it's being affected. First of all, VaYehi Yaakov. And the Zohar says, when we're talking about the Zohar of this parasha, and it's as we said, it's a short parasha, only 85 verses, but it's a whole book. It's a whole volume in the Zohar of more than 270 pages. There's so many secrets of how to live and even how to die in the Zohar of this parasha. Okay? So now, first of all, about VaYehi Yaakov. And the Zohar is explaining to us that when it says VaYehi Yaakov and Jacob lived, it's not just an historical or telenovela kind of a fact. It means that Jacob arrived a level of chai. Have you heard the word chai? Chai means life, the essence of life. Maybe what the Chinese are calling chi, or I think the Japanese call it ki. It's the real essence of power of life when it flows through your veins, flows through your brain, and flows through your heart. That's the only time you really feel that you are alive. How do you achieve that? Jacob achieved that in Egypt. After 130 years of really hard life, as we read in the previous parasha, when Jacob is meeting Pharaoh, and Pharaoh is asking, what kind of a life did you have? And Jacob is saying, my life was really tough, really hard. Look, his brother wanted to kill him. He's running away to his uncle, who wanted to kill him also, that he's cheating him all his life with his uncle. Finally, he marries, through cheatery, his cousins. Then he flees for his life, and his daughter is being raped. His wife is dead, okay? And then he's losing his beloved son that is being sold as a slave. Now that's enough for, if you are like a modern American or let's say British, you can go to 5,000 shrinks just for what you've gone through, and you can write many books about how great victim you are. And Jacob, he turns it into a real life. And the answer is like this. And he came to life in Eretz Mitzrayim. Now the Zohar says, what does it mean? So the first symbol is VaYehi Yaakov, and Jacob arrived to the level of real life, where? Eretz Mitzrayim. Now Eretz Mitzrayim is, it's a geographic location, Egypt. But in Hebrew, every word in Hebrew, because that's a language that the Creator created the universe with, every word has a mundane meaning, but it has also a celestial meaning. And the celestial spiritual meaning of Egypt is coming from the word Mitzrayim, which basically, even today, the Egyptians themselves, they don't call themselves Egypt, they call themselves Masr. It's the same shoresh as Metzar. Metzar, the same Mem Tzadik Reish. Why? In Hebrew and in Arabic, it means it's the same thing, because they're, cousin languages, both Semite languages. Metzar means narrow, confined. Okay? So why Egypt is called the confined country? So the Zohar explains the lowest place energetically on the whole earth is Egypt. No wonder the biggest culture, civilization of dark magic sprouted and grew in Egypt. What was there with the pyramids and all the curses of the pharaohs? It was like very dark. Usually when they talk and speak about Egyptian civilization, there's PC. You don't speak about that stuff, about the atrocities, about the viciousness, and about all the dark stuff that was going there in Egypt. But that was the darkest place, Egypt. Okay? But so Jacob arrived to real life in Egypt, and the Zohar says, how come? And the answer is, only when you find yourself that you are in a place that you can go through the darkest place, your Egypt. Every person has his own mental Egypt, and you can still live. Only then you can reach that place, 17 shana, 17 years. What is 17? Okay, another symbol. 17 in numerical value is the word Tov. Tov means good. What did we say? And God saw the light that it was good. Vayar Elohim et haor ki tov. So the light of the creation that we are all looking for, that light, was called Tov, which means achieving that level, that greatness of feeling good, truly enlightened. You need to go through Egypt in order to achieve enlightenment. What does it mean to go through Egypt? Think of it, they say the necessity is the mother of all invention. You realize that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and whatever, you see all of these great, amazing civilizations, okay, that started the great civilization of humanity in the Middle East, they all came out of the desert, out of a life that geographically was not easy. These civilizations did not, including monotheism, did not sprout in Hawaii, where there's always rain and the weather is amazing and there are like fruit on the trees and life is not too difficult. When your life is being threatened all the time because of droughts and locusts and all kinds of plagues like this, and you really have to fight and to pray, you have time to contemplate, and you are very creative. See Israel today as a symbol for innovation. 100 years of surviving attacks from your neighbors and fighting the wilderness in the same time, and fighting hostile superpowers politically all the time. If you don't become innovative, you will be dead. So Either you die or become innovative. So you have to choose, and that choice of seeing the terrible stuff around you and choose life over death, which means this is what Jacob did. He chose the living. He chose the life. He chose to look at his life, never to mourn, never to be upset, never to complain, never to be sour about it. And that's how he arrived to that place that is called to really live. Now, and how do we know that we continue? And it says, VaYehi yemei Yaakov, in the days of Jacob were Shnei Chayav. Now, again, if you go back to the death of Sarah, it's the first one of the patriarchs who passed away. And it's exactly the same grammatical expression, Shnei Chayav, or Shnei Chayea, which could be meaning the life of, but it also could mean the double life of. And we explained, right? It's not mine, but it's like the sages, that Sarah, she achieved eternal life just for one reason. She did what a human being is supposed to do. She did live a double life. On one hand, she made food for her husband and for her guests and for her family. And she made sure that the whole household is being run. And she also, on the same time, she was a prophet. And she contemplated and meditated and prayed. And she worked on her spiritual level. And which means she had a double life. Her feet were really based on the ground in a very practical way, but her head and her soul was really high in the celestial realm, which means she never thought that the physical world has the answer for her needs. The physical world was just an excuse, which is a cover up. But everything physical has a celestial understanding and meaning. When you study Torah, when you study the Zohar, you realize there's nothing that is only physical. Nothing. You also understand that there's nothing that is evil, because everything is basically a physical cover, elusive cover of the flow of the light of God. And when the light of God flows through your life, sometimes it has to break your illusions. And when it breaks your illusion, it looks like you lose. You lose money, you lose a day in your life, you waste time by being stuck in the traffic, or all kinds of weird stuff that happen. So if you just appreciate the physical, mundane experience and feeling, then you think that you can be happy only by owning the right stuff, having respect from the right people, and that will never satiate you, because all what you're looking for is really the divine eternal light. And the only way to achieve that is to overcome your own Egypt, what is called your box. When you live in the box and the comfort zone, that if I have just the nicest food, the nicest clothes, I'll be in shape, and all of that idol worshipping of our civilization. Why is it that so many people are so depressed? Why is it that people are depressed more than they're supposed to? It's because they are confined in their Egypt. They are slaves to their Pharaoh. They're enslaved to their own selfish desires. And if you're not going to restrict that and to overcome it, to outgrow it, how? And the answer was last week, when we spoke about Yehuda, that symbolized the physical life, colliding with Joseph, who symbolized the spiritual life. If you don't have that devotion to something that is bigger than life, to a vision, if you're not willing to pay the price, you're never going to be free, because you're going to be controlled by pain. most humans, whatever decision they make is controlled by pain. The pain of the fear of loss, a loss of a loved one, a loss of your own health, a loss of money, a loss of freedom, and so on. You go on and on and on like this. Rejection, a fear of the pain that will become by rejection. The moment we are motivated in that pain, we are in Egypt. We're confined in Egypt and will never achieve life full of bliss. It's not because God does not want to give the bliss to me. You know what? I'll tell you a secret. When you study Kabbalah, you realize that the Creator gave each one of us all the bliss, all the light we can even endure and experience and contain. So why do I have to pray to Him? I don't have to pray to the Creator in order to convince Him to give me what He already gave me. I just have to release that endless bounty, that endless bliss from the account that is deposited over there for me by the Creator. And how do I do it? I have to live. And living is redeeming, is getting over that fear of pain, that fear of rejection, that fear of all, and as long and I'm addicted to Egypt, addicted to the physical narrow box of physical joy, of physical pleasure. However, we have to remember one thing. The Zohar goes also into it. A lot of people along history who looked for the eternal life and the eternal happiness, they thought that the enemy, and they were right, the enemy is the bodily, physical desires, which means the desire for fame and the desire for money, the desire for other physical bodily pleasure like food and sex and all of that stuff. So what did they do? They tried to destroy it by destroying, they were focusing on destroying the body. So it's not eating, it's not, it's not enjoying all of that stuff that the world can give you. And they were very serious, and that, and you hear a lot about these people, and what, those people were responsible for so many atrocities that were done in the name of God. Why? Because Rabbi Ashlag, the founder of the Kabbalah world movement, explained very easily. When you are not connected to the spiritual light of God, you cannot give what you don't have. So when you're just full of remorse and blame and shame because your body is so filthy and you're so fighting, and whatever you fight against, that's what you become. The only way to be a spiritual person, the Zohar is teaching us in this parasha, the only way to live is to be excited about life, to be thankful about everything that is good. Is that connection to the goodness is for the positive and not for the negative. You can't be positive by always being negative. So it's not that you have to say to yourself, no, I'm not allowed to drink wine. I'm not allowed to eat good food. I'm not allowed to have a good pleasure. But no. The whole thing is about the only way to overcome that and to heal the selfishness is simply to generate loving kindness. That will do the job. Because when a person is willing to give whatever it takes for his spiritual dream out of the box, for a vision greater than life, only when you do that, like Jacob, like Joseph, then you don't allow all what you fall into. Joseph made mistakes. He made his brothers hate him. And you know what? Did he carry the blame? Did he carry the hatred against his brothers? No. He knew either he will be right, but he will be dead right, blaming them and hating them, or he will remember that it's all from God, so whatever they did to him was good. Okay? Otherwise, he won't be able to be successful as a slave, to Potiphar. Otherwise, he won't be able to see the distress of the wine steward and the baker in the dungeon. Otherwise, he won't be able to take the opportunity that Pharaoh gave him and to become the leader and the ruler of Egypt. It's all messages for each one of us. For each one of us. Through happiness, through excitement, says the Zohar, through overcoming sadness and pain, by doing good for the greater good, for the bigger vision, overcoming that will get us out of our confinement. And the moment we go out of the box, out of the confinement of selfishness and pittiness and stuff like this, only then we merit what is called to really live. And when you're really alive, it means that you create so much greatness and kindness and grace. And that is the essential element that you need in order to bring in the essence of life. The essence, the real light of Genesis. The eternal light flows through you, and then you connect to what is called Chai, VaYehi. And that VaYehi is happiness, it is greatness, it is prophecy, the ability to see beyond the senses, true wisdom, true life, and true ability to understand and appreciate what is life about. So this is the gift of this week, and bless you all and have a great week. Thank you so much.